Hello. We have very bad situations in the world today, and we have to ask Hashem to please help us, to give us the right course of action, to help ourselves, and things should get better for the world, for people in distress. Today, right now, we have another learning from Rav Kushalevsky on the Torah. Let's take a look. It's on inner and outer warfare. The inner and outer warfare. This is in the parsha of Kisetse, when the army, the Jewish army, the army of the Yidden will go out to war on their enemies. This is dealing with that. Parshas Kisetse, inner and external warfare. Okay. Kisetse la milchama al oivecha, when you go out to war against your enemies. Devarim 21:10. Your greatest enemy is the Yetzer Hara. A chassid once saw a group of soldiers returning from war, looking at their spoils. He told them, "You have returned from the small battle. Now you are heading into the real battle, the fight against the Yetzer Hara. That's the evil inclination. Chavos halavavos. Shar Yichud Hamaseh." Section 5. When you go out to war against your enemies, Rabbi Shimon said, this is the Yetzer Hara, Zohar Chadash. On a simple level, the pasuk above is referring to a physical war against our enemies. Yet it also hints at a war against our Yetzer Hara, as the Chavos Halavavos intimates, and as the Zohar Chadash says explicitly. Let us glean some tips from this parsha about how to fight our Yetzer Hara. The pasuk tells us, go out to war against your enemies. Do not wait for your enemy to attack you, as the popular expression goes. The best defense is a good offense. Then there is the matter of appropriate weaponry. This is our Torah study. There are 3 elements of Torah study, which the Zohar Chadash identifies here. So one of the things is when you go out to war against your enemies. So you're going out to war against your enemies. Don't wait for the enemy to attack you. Go out preemptively against your enemy. And what is the appropriate weaponry? That is the study of Torah. So there are 3 elements of Torah study, which the Zohar Chadash identifies here. The first is called lechem. The first is called bread or sustenance. The body has its physical drives and urges. These can be positive. We need to be able to live. But they can also be negative, either by egging us on to perform forbidden acts, or to overindulge and over-prioritize material needs. We all want to grow and become great. Some of us, however, misunderstand this drive and apply it to physical and material quests. We want more money, bigger homes, or better cars. The first element of the weaponry of Torah is lechem, because it satiates one's desires through Torah. A person thus feels and becomes full on the study of Torah. This becomes the vehicle of his growth and satisfaction. In other words, if the study of Torah is his main pursuit, then he won't have the need for things like the money and the more money, bigger homes, better cars, because his main purpose will be the study of Torah. So when he becomes more proficient at it and he gets satisfaction out of it, so he becomes full on the study of Torah. This becomes the vehicle of his growth and satisfaction. The second element identified by the Zohar Chadash is Shaviras Koach. Shaviras Koach. This literally means breaking one's strength, and it involves realigning and reprioritizing. The Yetzer Hara finds space in a mental vacuum. The Yetzer Hara finds space in a mental vacuum. When we are confused or have no clear thought process, no time to ponder or means of evaluating, the Yetzer Hara strikes. Learning Torah in depth yields patience, clarity, and objective methods of analysis to free oneself from the cusps of the Yetzer Hara, from the grasp of the Yetzer Hara. Similarly, when one devotes oneself to Torah, some of the physical drives weaken. As the Gemara puts it, why is Torah called Toshia? Because it weakens Meitish, a person's strength. So Meitish means weakens. So Toshia, the Torah is called Toshia. So it weakens a person's strength. Sanhedrin 25b. Of course, one does not lose his overall strength, as the Zohar Chadash writes. Indeed, Yeshayahu stresses that those who look to Hashem will grow in strength. Yeshayahu 40:31. So in other words, it's not literal, but it means it can weaken the drives of the Yetzer Hara. Meitish, the Torah, when one is involved in the study of Torah and learning, so it can weaken some of the physical drives, which will weaken the Yetzer Hara too, because one is involved in the Torah study. The third element identified by the Zohar Chadash is this: the words of Torah will prosecute the Yetzer Hara. This means that one's willpower to learn Torah will overcome the passion induced by the Yetzer Hara. In other words, that your main willpower is to learn Torah, so that will overcome anything. The passion induced by the Yetzer Hara. Any passion to do evil will be overcome by the passion to study Torah and plumb its depths. This is the fire of Torah, as referred to in Avel Rabasi, section 8, and by Maharal in his Drush ala Torah. Yet with all this, there is still more to glean. Even after we have fought against the Yetzer Hara and warded off its attacks, the Torah speaks about the Eshes Yefas Toar, captured in war, and her crying for a month. That's, in other words, one finds a beautiful woman and takes her captive, and so she has to cry for a month. One takes her captive. So they take off the beautiful clothing that she is wearing, and she wears robes, let's say, much less nice, and she is crying for her mother and her father for a month. So this is a soldier that captures a woman that he finds beautiful. So he's able to take her according to the Torah, and she wears the simpler clothing, very, very simple clothing, and she's crying for a month for her mother and her father because she was taken captive. This was in war, of course. This is in a situation of war. This, says the Zohar Chadash, is a reference to the month of Elul. So the crying for a month is the reference to the month of Elul. The month of Elul, that's right before Rosh Hashanah and then Yom Kippur. That's this month, right now, the month of Elul. This means that even after the Yetzer Hara has been vanquished, we still need to purify ourselves and remove any past sins via purity, Musar study, and the dedication and intensity of the month of Elul. The Torah prepares us for battle, outlines the rules of engagement, and gives us the guidance wherewithal and encouragement to be successful. The Torah prepares us for battle, outlines the rules of engagement, and gives us the guidance wherewithal and engagement to be successful. So the crying for a month is the month of Elul, in which we have to purify ourselves and remove any past sins via purity, Musar study of Musar, and dedication and intensity of the month of Elul. Thank you very much. So we should have a successful month of Elul and learning. People should be learning the Torah of Hashem, and things should be Hatzlacha, Refuos and Yeshuos. Thank you very much. Thank you.